Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. Today is Friday, June 18th. I'm Stephanie Haney, and I have your top stories here from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get you filled in first on something that happened in Pinecrest yesterday. We are now learning that police used pepper spray and pepper balls to disperse a crowd of about 1,000 young people at Pinecrest yesterday. This was following a situation in Orange Village. On Thursday, 7 juveniles were arrested following the incident. Police say that multiple departments were there and deployed those things along with sirens and canines to break up the crowd between 800 and 1,000 people. In a press release today, authorities said there were no shots fired at any time throughout the event, despite rumors to the contrary. Authorities say that there were several fights, but there was no medical attention needed for anyone, and also there was no property damage reported. The authorities say that this was a gathering related to a free movie, and it's believed that the incident was fueled by a social media post that got passed around quite a bit. Now, anyone with information is asked to call police at 440-247-7321. This is a developing story, and as we get more details, we'll bring them to you. Yesterday, Ohio House member Larry Householder, former Speaker of the House, was expelled from the Ohio House of Representatives. Remember, he is federally indicted in a bribery scandal, and this is the first time that the members of the Ohio House have used their power to remove someone in 150 years. It was a bipartisan vote in the Republican-controlled House. The vote was 75-21 to remove Householder. It was a resolution that says he's not suited for office because of the indictment. Now, the Ohio State Constitution allows for this for, quote, disorderly conduct, but doesn't define what disorderly conduct is. Now, Householder continued to say in a speech from the floor before the vote that he was innocent, and he predicted that he would be acquitted of the accusations. He has been accused of organizing a $60 million bribery scheme that was meant to approve legislation to prop up 2 nuclear power plants and then also kill a ballot trying to overturn the law. Householder says he has not, nor has he ever. I have not, nor have I ever taken a bribe or solicited or been solicited for taking a bribe. Those are Householder's words. Now, after the vote, Speaker Bob Cupp paused the session briefly while Householder was escorted out without incident, trailed by reporters. He said now he is returning to his home in southern Ohio, which is a farm, and he'll help his wife plant tomatoes, cabbage, lettuce, and sweet corn, and that over time he will speak out against elected officials that he believes, unlike himself, according to him, have in fact acted unconstitutionally. Householder also said this is a quote from Householder. I can tell you this much. Fellow elected officials who didn't like public citizen Householder are really not going to like private citizen Householder, kind of sending a veiled threat, a very thinly veiled, if you can even call it veiled, threat to the people who removed him from office this week. Now, today is the day that Ohio's state of emergency is lifted related to COVID-19, and it's also the day that Governor Mike DeWine spoke out about vaccinations and student athletes. He was joined today by Ohio High School Athletic Association Director Doug Ute. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that last name properly. Also, Ohio Department of Health Chief Medical Officer Bruce Vanderhoff and coaches and athletes from several schools. Dr. Vanderhoff took several minutes to urge everyone in Ohio, including young people, to get vaccinated. He said the public health community is very concerned about pockets in the state where vaccination rates are low and that they could result in mini surges of COVID-19 as we head into the fall season and those students are then gathering. Governor DeWine said today that there is grave concern over low vaccination rates in some areas of Ohio. Here was a quote from him. We're optimistic overall about where we are, but we certainly have pockets around the state where the vaccination rate is exceedingly low, and that is of grave concern. He said that his team right now is trying to find new incentives in order to get more people vaccinated. He says it's a continuous effort that they're working on in the governor's office and the Department of Health in order to encourage people to get those vaccinations. He said last week that more incentives would be coming as the Vax-A-Million drawings end next Wednesday. That will be the last chance for an Ohioan 18 and up who has had at least one COVID-19 vaccination shot to win $1 million before taxes, and also the last chance for a 12 to 17-year-old who has had at least one vaccination shot to win the a 4-year, up to a 4-year scholarship that includes tuition, books, and room and board. DeWine says that there will be more incentives coming, and they'll be announcing them week after week, and that they're very focused on it. He said Ohio has a lot of work to do, and he says Ohio will not meet President Joe Biden's target of at least 70% of people vaccinated by the 4th of July. DeWine says he thinks that's a good goal, but we're just not going to be there by July 4th. But there are people here in the health department, in pharmacies, and hospitals, and public health clinics working every single day to try and get more people vaccinated. Here's where it stands here in Ohio. Almost 47% of Ohioans have had at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. That's about 5.5 million people. And almost 43% of Ohioans are fully vaccinated. That's a little over 5 million people. As of Friday morning, it's Holmes County here in Ohio that has the lowest vaccination rate at 15.1% of the residents in that county. Now, we have a map on WKYC.com, and you can see the vaccination rates in Ohio based on county. The darker shade of blue reflects a higher vaccination number. We also have a map showing the vaccination rates state by state. The darker green color there show highest vaccination rates. Mississippi appears to have the lowest vaccination rate, somewhere in the high 30%. Today, President Joe Biden is announcing that 300 million COVID-19 shots have been administered in the 150 days since he took office on January 20th. But he is in danger, not just in Ohio, but across the country, of not hitting that 70% of Americans being vaccinated mark by July 4th. The CDC says 305 million vaccine doses have been administered as of June 10th. Overall, about 172.4 million people, or almost 52% of the total U.S. population, have had at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. And about 141.6 million, or about 42.6% of the population are fully vaccinated. But the pace of vaccinations has dropped off significantly from that high of nearly 2 million per day about 2 months ago. So again, definitely in jeopardy of not hitting that 70% mark by July 4th. And that's what has to happen if Budweiser is going to buy every 21 and up person in Ohio a beer. So if you are interested in that and you have friends who are not vaccinated, now might be the time to have a discussion with them on getting that free beer from Budweiser by the 4th of July. Now let's take a look at more COVID-19 numbers. The Ohio Department of Health has now reported 44 more COVID-19 deaths. The total number as of today, 20,166. According to Johns Hopkins University, globally, there have been 177,563,153 reported COVID-19 cases. We've got 18.9% of those cases here in the U.S. with 33,512,480. Globally, there have been 3,844,571 COVID-19 deaths. And in the U.S., we've had 15.6% of those deaths with 601,049. Switching gears here, if you saw a deposit in your bank account this week from the IRS, that is a legitimate deposit. Don't worry, they're not going to take it back from you, because the IRS made deposits or sent out checks to people above and beyond their return because they owed them money. And this is tied to unemployment benefits. The American Rescue Plan made it so that you could exclude up to $10,200 in unemployment benefits from your adjusted gross income. But that didn't happen until after a lot of people had already filed their taxes and paid taxes on that income. So now the IRS owes those people money. So they just made it an automatic process. They took a look at your return, and if you paid taxes on unemployment benefits that you weren't supposed to, that's why you got that refund. Tomorrow is June 19th, and that is also known as Juneteenth. And as of yesterday, President Biden signed it into law as a federal holiday. Now, if you don't recall, Juneteenth, is meant to honor June 19th, 1865. That's when Union soldiers brought the news of freedom to enslaved black people in Galveston, Texas. This was 2 months after the Confederacy surrendered, and 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation freed people who had been enslaved in the southern states. This is the first new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Jr. Day was created in 1983. Because it falls on a Saturday this year, a lot of federal places and other places are observing the holiday today on Friday. So if some things are closed, that is why. But there are a lot of things happening tomorrow to honor this day. Juneteenth Freedom Fest is just one of them. And we have a list of a bunch of activities that you can participate in on WKYC.com, but one of them is the Juneteenth Freedom Fest. This is the inaugural event for this event. It's in downtown Cleveland at Mall C, and it's happening from noon to 10 p.m. There will be performers, there will be food trucks, there will be a pop-up sort of village where Black-owned businesses will be highlighted, and the night will end with fireworks here in downtown Cleveland. So if you want to check that out, and check out that full list on WKYC.com. And here is a heartwarming story to send you off on this Friday, looking into your weekend. There was an emotional reunion in Parma Heights between a family that had spent pretty much their entire lives apart. At 80 years old, Joe Lanasa met a daughter that he never even knew he had. He was working at what he thought was a normal day at the Parma Heights barbershop where he works, and a woman came in all the way from Las Vegas. Her name, Kelly Psycho, and she had an envelope with her, and in that envelope was a photograph of her with a woman, a black and white photo taken here in Cleveland. That woman in that photo, her name is Rita. That's Kelly's mother, and also a woman that Lanasa had not seen in 55 years. And Kelly said to him, "I think you're my dad. I've been looking for you for 40 years. He immediately brought her to meet his wife, who he married after having spent time with Rita and bringing Kelly into the world, and those two children that resulted from that marriage. And he introduced her as his daughter, and wouldn't you know it, a DNA test confirmed that he is 99.999% her biological father. And since then, they have been making up for a lot of lost time. If you want to see their photos, you can see a video of them spending time together. You can check that out on WKYC.com. All right, that's it for your 3 News Now update today for Friday, June 18th. I will see you back here on Monday with more 3 News Now.